concept, but I knew that there was something really special there, and I wanted to share the beauty of Mexico with people. Had been living in New York 2 years after college, and am really close with all my brothers, but my brother, who's closest in age to me, is 4 years older, told me that I should move home and start this concept, which at the time was um, a luxury embroidery line from Mexico. So I moved home, started to research, lived with my parents for 3 years, which was super fun to kind of get close with them as an adult. And then worked on it for a year, met with communities. And I think one thing that really helped so much was a mentor of mine is the CEO of Peacock Alley, which is a luxury bedding line. Jason Needleman, he's actually on our board of advisors. He's just been so amazing. He really helped me get started. So we actually started with decorative pillows and also duvets. But on the side, when we did our launch party, we had dresses and tops, and they sold out that night. And so that was when I knew this was something really fun and that I could really continue with the clothing line.
Yeah, that's amazing to hear. And I love just the support of your family and like having an older brother to encourage you to start a business. And I know there's a lot of men who own like family businesses in town that have daughters. I have a 16-year-old daughter, and, they're thinking about kind of like what their daughters are going to do. And I'm like, she could come run your business.
Yeah.
And, you realize how like forward thinking that was of your dad and your brother to be like, hey, Cristina, let's do this. Like,
yes,
you can do this. I love that.
Yeah, I love it too. I feel really, really fortunate in that sense, in that my family, like, they don't see limits, and they really kind of empowered me to do what I wanted to do. And even if I didn't know exactly what it was, they kind of just kept encouraging me to grow, which is just great. And my father was in private equity, and so was my brother. And so my brother, actually, Peter, has a website that teaches people how to build financial models. It's called A Simple Model, but they're very entrepreneurial. And then my two older brothers, H and John, one has a film production company, and the other is retired but still does graphics for films. So yeah, it's a fun group.
Well, I like the mix of business and like creative. Yeah, you're like the perfect merge of the two.
Thanks. I don't know about that. Thank you.
So one of my favorite things that you said when we were talking earlier is, how many women embroidering do you have working on your staff?
Close to 600 women.
It's amazing.
Wow. Yeah.
And how does this job affect their life? Like, tell us, because they're in Mexico. So tell us like how this affects their livelihood, their trajectory, all
For sure. So it's funny, because when I started, really what was so important to me, like I said earlier, was just to show the beauty of Mexico. I didn't realize kind of what I was getting into. And then as I started Mi Golondrina, started to meet with women. About 2 years in, I had the most incredible experience. Basically, one of the women who had been embroidering, she spoke Zapotec, which is something that I think a lot of people don't realize, but a lot of the women we work with, they don't speak Spanish. So we actually have to have a translator to speak their native language. But she told me that her son was now able to go to school because of embroidery, and that he was learning Spanish. And I was, I think I was like 25 then, and it was just so moving and so exciting. And I think that that's when I realized how important this was to me. And it is completely our mission now to make sure that the women we work with have great work, that they're part of it, that it's collaborative. One thing I really love is that it's work that they love and understand. So we're really, the embroidery, for example, from San Antonino is the embroidery that they've been doing for 200 years. Like, their grandmother did it, and their granddaughters are learning it too. So it's something that they take a lot of pride in. And we, in a sense, what I love about kind of the way we work is that we understand how much goes into that. And then in Dallas, we press everything. It's like, I always say, look, they created a piece of art and now we have to do our best job to display it.
Mm-hmm. I have a shirt that's like a solidly summer shirt, so I didn't wear it. But it hangs in my closet. I know this is so strange, but I will like sometimes just stop and look at it because
That's so sweet.
it is. It has like the panel in the front. It kind of comes up over the sleeve, and just the detail is amazing. I'm like thinking, I'm just not a detailed person. Like I don't love to do crafts and things, but so I thought, like, how long would it take to stitch all those tiny X's? It is beautiful, definitely an art, and it's a treasure to have too. I mean, you know, it's like, you know, I have this piece of clothing that has a story behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that because I think so many brands try to achieve that, and that, you know, it's a difficult thing to do and then relay on to like your customer. And so y'all have done a really great job of that. And yeah, I know your website is beautiful. I mean, the colors and everything that you showcase really does a great job of defining your brand. Has that been a process, or was that something that you found was easy to do just by, I mean, I think about it because your story is so great. It seems like that would probably be easier to tell the story, but has that process been like?
Yeah, you know, I think story is so important for all brands, and we're so lucky that we have one that really came natural. So, you know, when I was starting, social, you know, Instagram was kind of becoming a big thing. It was different than it is now. But I really enjoyed making sure, and it was honestly, so it was really important, one, to just make sure that everyone understood how much work went into each piece, because I do think a long time ago, there was this understanding that, oh, it comes from Mexico, it should be less expensive. Whereas if you're paying fairly and you're really finishing it right, it really shouldn't. It's a true work of art. So I felt like it was my duty to explain that to people, but to do it in a luxe way, because I didn't want it to feel like a charity or anything. It was really important to me that this is incredible art that these women are creating, and I want you to see it. And it's been interesting to constantly be evaluating the way we tell our story and share our product. You know, Instagram is so important. Social media, we use Facebook too. But I think it's just making sure that, you know, people only have so much time. So it's important that you're telling your story in every way, that it's in your packaging, it's on your social, it's, you know, I tell it to friends, I tell it to people that I meet. It's just, I remember there was a point where I was like, wait, have we said this too many times? And then you realize that I talk to people still who are like, wait, the whole thing is made by hand. I'm like, yes, it's all made by hand in Mexico. So, so anyway, I think that's really, really important. And it's important for people to, what's nice for us is our stories aligned with our mission. And so it's good for us to constantly be speaking about it as a team and sharing it with others.
Will you spend a few minutes telling us about building a team? Because it seems like you are a really good leader from an outside.
Oh my gosh, that's so nice. I think that's, you know, one of the hardest things for everyone. I think it's something that I try, you know, I think you learn more every year. And obviously when I was 24, 25, I was so nervous to hire anybody and to tell anybody to help me. And what's wonderful is that I think that our story and mission, and I don't know, I've been able to work with such wonderful women. And I think that my family really encouraged me to hire some really incredible talent early on. You know, I remember some of our first hires were people that I couldn't believe would want to come work on something like this. But I think the mission, and something that's also always been important to me, and I don't know why, because I didn't have a baby yet, but work-life balance is really huge to me. I think it's just because family is so important to me. I really grew up with that. And so we've always had a really flexible work schedule. And I think that that really draws such great talent. If you can go pick up your kids or go do cafeteria duty or whatever it is, we really kind of prioritize life outside of work. So that's something that I would recommend to most leaders is just know that if you can make sure that your employees are enjoying life outside of work, it's just one of the most important things, obviously.
Yeah, that's great advice. And so it sounds like if y'all were already kind of set up to allow some flexibility, what has the transition been like with COVID, and has that slowed down your business? I know you've taken most everything online.
Yeah, I would say it was a really hard transition in the beginning. Like March, April last year it was scary. I think it was scary for a lot of people in retail. And I think that's why it's so nice to have mentors. I was texting with Jason and texting with my friend Lizzie, who's with Mirren Crosby. It's a cowboy boot line, but really needed a lot of support to make tough decisions. I mean, we had built up inventory to have pop-ups and stores. And one thing that I think really helped us is we'd never done a sale before. So in 7 years, we hadn't done a sale. And so I'd never wanted to, I had no interest in marking our stuff down. But when you build inventory like that and you think you're going to open some stores, we really needed to do it. And I was excited. I thought, you know what, this is the time to do it. And it really saved our business. We were in a kind of scary cash position. And the sale saved us. So we did 2 sales last year, and our team definitely got smaller. I had to let go of sales associates. It was really sad conversations, and just fully transitioned to online. And I think that will I hope forever be the hardest time I've had in this business. But I think it made us all stronger. It made us all focus. And now we are really fully online. We do talk about opening our store potentially. We have one store that's kind of our headquarters as well. So we talk about opening that maybe later this year. But really the safety of our employees has just been so important. We just want to make sure everybody feels safe. So we'll see if that happens. But then working virtually really for operating the online business has been great. I think we have such a fun team that we miss being in person sometimes. So we just did a Valentine's Day lunch on like an outdoor patio last week. And that was just so nice to have a little bit of face-to-face time. And we kind of take turns going in and out of the office so that it's never too many people in the office at once. We all wear masks. But virtual has been great. I think one thing I heard on a podcast the other day that I thought was really insightful is that not everybody is used to kind of speaking virtually. So for example, if you have a team meeting, X person may not feel as comfortable sharing their opinion because they're not used to doing it through a screen. Mm-hmm. So one thing they said, which I thought has been helpful, is to do phone calls. So for every virtual call you do, try to do 3 phone calls because people are more free and feel more open to share things. So I've been trying to do that with our team, just picking up the phone and calling different people on our team, just so that we all stay connected and don't feel too like we're performing or something.
Yes.
That's great advice. I have not heard that, but I know this. I have found myself when I see a phone call on my calendar rather than a Zoom call, I'm like, praise the Lord.
Yeah, me too.
I haven't thought about that. I'm gonna start asking people if they just want to have a call instead of trying to
it's so odd. I didn't realize, because it was making me a little sad. I was like, why am I sad after seeing our whole team? And I was like, because it's not the same connection. It's not the same flow. I'm used to it. I was a theater major, so I can be I can talk virtually, but I just know that not everybody's connecting with me, and I miss those connections.
That's a really great way to handle that. I actually read an article, I'll put it in the show notes afterwards, on this exact thing. And our brains are smart, and they're like, wait, I'm seeing someone's face, but this isn't a real connection. And it's like inside our brains, something's happening where it's like, this is not real. You know what I mean? And it really does work. Like the phone intimacy is, I guess, like appropriate intimacy. And so like that does actually work better. I just read about this past week.
It's so funny. Please share. I'd love to see that.
It's so true. And like, I'm looking at our guest today, and Krista Cotton is one of them. And Krista and Lauren and I have gotten to be good friends through the Wealth Edit. And we just got to spend a part of the week together last week at a conference. And we said, we feel like we were pen pals, you know,
Yeah.
we feel like we know each other really well because so much of it's been virtual, but we realized that we hadn't spent time together in person. It's such a unique phenomenon that's going on now with COVID, and it's bringing up some really interesting things. That's a great thought.
So tell us about, and I know I loved what you said about your family not seeing limits. And so when you were building Mi Golondrina, did you did you ever have to take outside funding, or did you just kind of tell us how you built it?
For sure. Of course. I did not take outside funding, and I started very, very, very small. And slowly invested a little bit more, but I'm really proud of the fact that I really kept it pretty lean. And I think one thing that I was talking to my friend about this morning is like, I wasn't a business major. I was an econ major, but they didn't totally relate. But I think that starting small, meaning like, at our launch party, I think I had like 40 dresses. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, I spent this much on the party. This is how many dresses I need to sell. And just having that like quick, easy math was so great. And then knowing like, as I grew, what that meant, it was kind of like I got a business degree as I was slowly growing. I've thought a lot about outside funding. And I don't think that, what I've loved is I think we've made really smart decisions. And I think that really focusing on profitability and just making sure it's a healthy company is so important to me. And I don't have this exit plan where I want to sell the business. I really see this as a long-term company that is so important to these women in Mexico that I just want to make sure we're continuing to grow a sustainable business. So that's the way I continue to look at it. I think, if there were ever something where it was like, oh my gosh, we need to open, we want to see the next level of growth and we want to open 10 more stores, I'd definitely consider it, just because I think you should always be considering things. But for the most part, I've really loved being the sole owner. And I think that what I tell our team is just, it's so nice that we don't have to answer to anybody. It allows us to be creative. And so, we all talk about it. I think we're really open with each other about the way we're running it and everything. So that's been really nice. One thing I will say though, since we don't have investors, I took this business course with Goldman Sachs called 10,000 Small Businesses a few years ago. It was so good for me. Oh my gosh. It was just, I think I needed confidence at the time. So that was really what it helped me with most, was just people, at all sorts of different phases with their business, and just realizing, okay, we're all in this together. Even though our businesses are so different, we're all kind of working towards the same goal. But one of the pieces of advice that I got from that was to get a board of advisors. And I kind of always associated that as people who are invested in your company, which is obviously not true. You can have a board of advisors and figure out what makes the most sense for your business. But I think it's a year, maybe 2 years that we have a board. And Actually, my brother continues to be on it, which I really love because he's known so much about the business since I started. And Jason Needleman, who's the CEO of Peacock Alley. Really proud to have Karen Katz, who was the CEO of Neiman Marcus. She gives us such great advice. My father was on it. He's kind of in poor health now, but anyway, it really keeps us on our toes. We, present all our financials. We talk about what's upcoming. And I think it's just kind of this level of professionalism that obviously having investors would help with, but I think you can create that organization on your own.
I love that you said that, because we have two businesses. So we have the Wealth Edit, and then we have our private practice, wealth management practice. And someone gave me the advice to create a board of advisors, and I did early in my career, and it has changed the trajectory of our business, because those people, you get the benefits of outside funding without the negatives of it. And
exactly, that's
pretty cool. And anyone can do it.
I think a lot of people don't realize, or maybe not, but I feel like there's some women I've spoken to who have great businesses, and it's the first thing I recommend, because you can do it. Like you said, you can do it very early on. I wish I had done it earlier. They have really recommended and helped push us to be more of a digital company. And I'm so glad they did, because we were in a better place before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Well, and another thing, Lauren and I have talked about this a lot, because I changed careers from being an attorney and moved into wealth management. And it's interesting because we have a lot of people reach out to ask about the advisory board. And so I've kind of gotten to watch, like, as an outsider, looking into how this works. And I think it brings up two things that I think we need to encourage women to do. One is to be willing to be vulnerable, like showing like other people, like, this is where I am. And that's really hard a lot of times when you're building a business, especially if there's some insecurity there, which we all have, especially like you said, very few of us, like, especially at our age, went to school to be entrepreneurs and had like, oftentimes we're coming in from an outsider because we have a passion and a product that we want to sell. So here we are, and it's, to be able to say, here I am, I'm open to suggestions and I want your help. And then two, it seems like a theme throughout your entire interview today, and Lauren's life too, and mine as well, but it's like the willingness to have mentors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's so important. I think, I was just thinking about it, I'm so fortunate that my family was there and continues to be there. But I know that not everyone has that. So I think I would encourage people to, if it's a friend or whoever it is that they feel like early on, they feel like they can open up to, and then you can slowly find more mentors. But I know that in the beginning, it's so, I was so nervous. I mean, I remember I was like, gosh, I had just come back to Dallas, and I was going to these social events, and people were asking me what I was doing with my life. And I felt like I was describing an arts and crafts company. I didn't, and you don't know what it is yet. And I think mentors help you. They're kind of that outside perspective that are like, no, this is great. So continue with this, and give you a little bit of confidence too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's such a good word. Well, and so I know you have such a strong family support system, but it also sounds like you have a good network of women in business, or at least that's like what I'm hearing from you. How did you build that?
I think I was really fortunate that Mi Golondrina has great customers. So I think that was a part of it. It was just our customers became my friends, they became a community. And so I met a lot of women through that, just through selling. And, I was selling, I was uploading to the website, I was kind of doing all the things, emailing with people. And I think that's how I slowly started to create great connections. And then what's so neat, I think women in Dallas and all over, they just really wanted, I could feel they wanted Mi Golondrina to succeed. So I would get just these beautiful introductions like, oh my gosh, you need to meet my friend and have coffee. She's doing X. And so it's just been really great. And I think with the pandemic, I wasn't doing as good of a job having coffee as much as I did before. So that's something I'm really making sure to prioritize. I started to kind of the end of this last year, and I'm really picking it up again, just because there's so many cool businesses that we can all learn from.
Well, that makes me so happy. We think we have the best customers at the Wealth Edit also. You know, it really, I mean, it attracts like the coolest women that we've ever met. Like, it's just awesome. So
by far, I say that my favorite thing about the Wealth Edit is hearing other women's stories. And in turn, like gaining inspiration and courage to continue to do what we're doing in both of our businesses. You know, it's hearing other women that have gone before you is really powerful. So
it's huge. I love what you all are doing so much. I think it's so important.
Thank you. Well, we always end our interview with the question of, why did you say yes to the Wealth Edit? I'm sure you have a million other requests for your time. So we're so very grateful, but we'd love to hear what it was that resonated with you.
Yeah, I think what you all are, like I was saying, I think what you all are doing is so important. And, you know, being a mostly female business, I think that it's so important that we're all comfortable talking about finances and empowering each other. And you all are doing just that, right? And I think that is just so incredible. I think, you know, one thing that you see happen is, and it makes me sad, is if you don't kind of grow up with somebody teaching you that it's comfortable, that to feel comfortable talking about finance, then I've noticed that some people shy away from it or hand it off. And I think that if we can encourage each other to talk about it more, then I think you'll just see more success and more happiness. And I love what y'all are doing. It's really awesome.
Thank you so much. Well, we are so happy to get to know you. We can't wait to meet you in person, hopefully in Dallas.
I can't wait to meet you guys. You'll have a place to stay. Just call me, please.
Okay. Thank you, Cristina. I know we do love to find some members and stay with them in our city. Everybody's so serious. All right. Well, we have just so enjoyed this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
I hope to talk soon.
Look forward to keeping in touch.
Okay.
All right. Bye. Bye.